Well, hello, everybody. I'm back again, but for good reason. As you can see right here, we have just located, thanks to law and crime, um, the video that was shown in court from the surveillance of, um, I need to do, no, where is it? Oh, I need to fix it. That was shown in court today for um the uh I'm sorry, Carly Gregg trial. We were going to be following another trial, but that has been canceled. So we will probably be following this. We'll have to do some catch up. But what's happened? Literally, literally, I kid you not. Let me get this back over here. Let me see. Moments ago, this video footage dropped and we have it. So, hi, Karate Man. Hi, GSD, Dog Mom. So, this, I have to warn everybody. I haven't seen it. I've seen the first few minutes. You will hear pow pows. I don't think you're going to see anything. If something comes up that's really bad, then we will um, pause it and discuss. But at this point, this is the footage that was shown in court of the moment of the unaliving of Mrs. Gregg. So, with that, let's go and show it. Warning. Please let me know if that's too loud. I've got to put the trigger warning up. It's a court, but we're not in court. But okay, here is where she gets the lead shooter. If you notice, this I did see. I only saw a little bit. Beautiful dogs. Okay, here she comes, lead shooter behind the back. She is looking. She knows the camera is there. Oh, I think I'll do this one for now. I'm gonna do that one. Those are the shots that were fired into her mother. At that moment, at 4:14 p.m. on March 19th of 2024, her mother became unalive. Now, as you can see, she is contacting somebody. It is diabolical. I thought that was a dog. I think that startled the dog. That, but I can't hear well enough, so I'll have to take y'all's opinion on that. I have no captioning. She puts the gun, the lead shooter. She keeps trying to hide it. Uh-oh. She goes back. We've heard 3 for sure bangs. Looking to see if I have more water for coffee. I'm making coffee. I'm here. That sounds like something's knocked over. We'll go back again, I'm sure. It is. They know something's bad. They know something's wrong. Do y'all like this background, just the black, better than the decorative one? Just thought. Hi, Etalee. Alita Lee. GD. GSD mom. GSD's dog mom. Sorry. Is this your first time here? And if it isn't, forgive me. It's hard to keep up with everybody. That was 5, I think. But I don't I don't know if that's the lead shooter. No, that sounds like shuffling and banging. I can't hear. Y'all tell me. Y'all will have to tell me. The dogs know something's very wrong. Oh, that feels good. Well, thank you for commenting. Did she just say stay back? I'm going to drop that back. Get out. Out, stay back. That's my captioning saying anyway, something along the lines of that. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Oh, oh, that was hot. Dang nabbit. Arthritic hands. Well, any further questions, Ron?
All right. Return the exhibit to the court.
Okay. There's obviously more. Yes, there is, because I'm looking at the timestamp. This is horrible, y'all. Horrible. Did I touch something?
All right. Return the exhibit to the court reporter, please. You can stand down, but you're still under subpoena. You don't need to discuss your testimony with anyone. Yes, sir.
Okay, guys. OMG. You know, there's so much that has dropped today, and I didn't know which way to go. And we've got some stuff to talk about the Donna Adelson interview with her. There was an interview with her attorney, but I was going to go live with that, and then this popped up. I will say thank you, Long Crime, but oh, she's going for ever. I think she should not life without the possibility of parole. This is definitely diabolical. I just absolutely cannot understand how this is calculus. This is calculated. This is intentional. This should be DB. If it wasn't for her age, it would DBP. This is horrendous. And for those of you who just hopped on, I'm going to let it play one more time. I have cameras in my home for multiple reasons. If anybody should ever unalive me, hopefully they'll be caught. Yeah, she's got issues, royal issues. Excuse my face. I went to the eye doctor and wiped up all my makeup, eye makeup. And look how calm she is. She is so freaking calm. Oh, Haley Mouse. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry, love. I am so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, yay, we got a new member just in the middle of a murder video. I don't care if I'm not going to monetize for this. Oh my gosh, y'all. Y'all, this is heavy. I'm so sorry. We are all paw nerds here. Oh, and do you know what? I feel bad for those dogs. I mean, you can tell they're distressed. Hi, Anne. Welcome. This was just released within 30 minutes ago ish, maybe 45. Thank you, Sneaky Side. Look at that poor dog. That that dog knows something really bad happened. It's kind of standing there just bewildered. Yeah. I guess RA is still live. I I got off my live. Oh, it doesn't show he's on.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Return the exhibit to the court reporter, please. You can stand down, but you're still under subpoena. You don't need to discuss your testimony with anyone.
I don't think. Yeah, that's it on that. I'm going to just slide that there just to save it for now. You guys, that is so horrible. Poor doggies. Yeah, I feel for the dogs. I feel for the animals. I really, really do. Um, they get traumatized as well. Very disturbing. And my hair's a hot mess. Um, yeah, I went and got my new contacts. The bifocal part on the bottom is getting better, but it's not quite there yet. So they're not going to be happy when I come back and say, it's still out of focus. But anyway, back to this. No doubt the poor dogs had witnessed some trauma. They have emotions too. And right now, we just send out prayers to you, Haley Mouse. We are so, so sorry. So, so sorry. And our hearts are with you. And yeah, that's hard. But we're here for you. So just reach out if you need us. There was a interview with the attorney in today's case, and I'm having a hard time finding it. I just watched, history. That's what I need to do. Where's my history? Where's history? Where's my history? I'm trying to find it because I watched it on my other TV. Yeah. And there was an interview. Yeah. We are so sorry. That's not history. That's what I'm looking for. History. There it is. So I'm going to share this. We are going to transition. We will play the video again if new people hop on and would like to see it. But let's follow up with this. Okay.
What went through your mind as all this was happening?
Well, I don't know that it matters how I'm feeling. It's been a stressful day for Mrs. Adelson, no doubt about that. For lawyers, these things happen, and there are legal arguments that have to be made, and it's part of our job, of course. But so, a legal issue resolved, and on to the next challenge.
We can talk about what happened. I know folks at home might not understand what attorney-client privilege is or what the Sixth Amendment allows folks when they're on trial.
Sure. Charlie Adelson's counsel filed a notice advising that Mr. Adelson was not consenting to his former counsel cross-examining Mr. Adelson on the witness stand. That expanded to Mr. Adelson saying that he no longer consented to Mr. Ashbaum's continued representation of his mother. There was agreement amongst the parties originally, and that agreement came to an apparent halt based on Mr. Offerman's pleading.
I'm sorry.
It's very noisy.
Yeah, sorry. I don't want to.
I was going to ask, but I literally couldn't even hear what you said. But I don't even know what you asked and what he said.
I asked just, could you explain what happened? Explain it.
Okay,
I can do it again without semis if you want.
do it.
It's like, really?
So Charlie Adelson's attorney filed a notification that Mr. Adelson was notifying the court that he had an objection to Mr. Ashbaum conducting cross-examination of Mr. Adelson because of his prior representation. That expanded to Mr. Adelson's objection that Mr. Ashbaum continue representation of his mother. As a result of the objections, where there once was agreement, there are now objections. Mr. Ashbaum has withdrawn from the case, and we're going to figure out what lawyers we're going to use to go forward and keep that out.
That's fine. Are you going to represent Don Adelson?
No, we're not going to edit this.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, we'll be proceeding forward with myself as lead counsel, and we're looking into what other lawyers may be associated with the case.
Someone local, perhaps, or
It would be.
okay, not someone out of state. Sorry, down south or whatever.
No, I don't
Doubt
have a
it.
belief that it would be anyone down south at this point. I anticipate somebody local.
And then everyone knew about this. Everyone knew about how fraught with difficulty this situation was with the same lawyer, Mr. Ashbaum, representing Charlie and Donna. How did we get here? If everyone knew that, how did we end up with a continuance today?
Well, I think everyone knew that the conflict existed or the potential of the conflict. There were waivers in place that seemingly resolved the conflict issue. But as is anyone's right in that circumstance, their consent or their permission was revoked. And as a result, that brought a termination to that game plan, if you will, and necessitated a different one. And that's the reason for the continuance.
And what we really saw was this conflict between Charlie Adelson's desire to have a thorough appeal.
Trial
and
will probably happen
his
between
mom-
November and February.
in a criminal trial. May not have said that very artfully, but
Ultimately, the question is whether or not their positions are at odds with one another, and there's absolutely the potential of that, and that's the issue.
When there are changes of counsel, like what happened today, can you kind of speak to how long it takes other attorneys and lawyers to kind of study up on the case to be ready to go to trial?
Fortunately, I'm in a reasonably good position in terms of familiarity, but as I stated to the court, I do need an opportunity to catch my breath and catch up on the things that I'm not as familiar with. So me personally, I don't think there's a huge learning curve to it. For another lawyer just to pick it up and figure things out, there's more of a learning curve. This case was calendared for trial relatively quickly in the big picture. It's a 2023
True.
case at the end of 2023, but
That is
it's roughly
true.
9-10 months after arrest, which is abnormal. So I would think that by the time that the matter gets to trial, it would be a normal passage of time, if you will.
when do you think that the new trial would, the trial would occur?
Discussions have been had with the state that sometime between November and
I
January,
know,
early February.
honey.
So we're working on a calendar right now.
Okay. Donna Adelson was crying in court, wiping her eyes, and looked very clearly upset.
No kidding.
Can you say what was going through her mind, or did she
Sure.
articulate that to you?
I don't know that she articulated what was going through her mind, but I can pretty accurately tell you that you develop a relationship with the lawyer.
Real quick, do you remember when the judge asked the state for any comments? And she goes, none that I really can say at this moment. Meaning, I called BS on this from day one. You're not going to like what I have to say, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. You know, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. The judge is in that boat with both of them. Yes, you were correct. You are so correct. It's a bad situation. It should not have been allowed to go on this long. Future, I'm glad you're feeling a little better. Hope you continue to do so. And yeah, we got Boone coming up.
and a connection, the recognition that
right.
that connection
Right.
is going to be broken. And, how am I going to go this on my own without you? Is absolutely a feeling that a client has. And it's distressing, stressful. The whole situation is stressful in the first instance. But she understands and put one foot in front of the other and get the case to a jury as quickly as we can.
What happens to Katie McVanoa and Charlie? Do they all go back to their respective prisons? Are they going to stay in Leon? Do you have any idea?
I would imagine that the state will begin its process of releasing and returning witnesses.
Yep.
I can tell you on my end of things, that's one of the immediate things that I went back to do is to let witnesses know that they're released from subpoenas and cancel travel arrangements, because there's been an awful lot of effort that's been put into this.
Right.
Oh, a whole
How
lot.
disappointed were you that it came to this?
Whole hell of a lot.
Because of preparation and being ready to go for the benefit of the client, I'm disappointed that it came to this. I wanted Mrs. Adelson to be able to have her day in court as quickly as possible. But I have to be reasonable and practical.
Is that part of why she was upset too? Did she want to go to trial this week and get this done? And
Yes, absolutely. I mean, her desire is for the jury to be able to listen in judgment of the facts and be able to get the case to the jury as quickly as we can.
I know that you just spoke to, she was sad that she can't go to trial right now. You're upset that you can't get that trial moving quicker. But would you say that this is all kind of for the best in the long run?
I think so. I think that it's going to open up opportunities as it relates to negotiations. I
That
think
is
it
so
opens up
true.
pathways to
So true.
and exploring different defenses that may not have been previously available. I think that it makes the situation
Pay attention to this.
potentially easier and in the best interest of both Mr. Adelson and Mrs. Adelson in terms of having lawyers advocate for them.
You mentioned the word plea. Do you expect
There
that
you go.
there
I was waiting
didn't
for
seem to
that.
be a lot of plea negotiations between the parties?
There can be a
from
whole
the
lot of
outside
plea
of it?
negotiations.
Oh, you never
Who
know.
knows?
Ms. Kappelman says, stay tuned, right?
Watch him.
Did she
He's
say
going,
that? I
oh,
might have missed
snap.
Or she said, I'm sorry, she said that last year.
She
said that last
She
year.
said,
She said
stay
that to me
tuned in
last
terms
year.
of who's going to be
Yes,
prosecuted.
ring a bell.
So
Right.
I say that a little tongue in cheek, but you never know. There are
Good
ways
cover.
of resolving very difficult
Good
cases,
recovery.
and this may open up an opportunity for different dialogue.
Resolve it outside of trial, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, we do have another
How are
video
you feeling right now?
we have more video of the Carly Craig. But before that, we've had some people asking about the situation in Houston. I actually have few people that have family in Houston. So I'm going to do a 3-minute video just so we can catch up with that. And then we're going to go watch the other video about Miss Carly Gregg. It's interesting, y'all. Here's only about 2.5 minutes. Here we go. Oh,
SUV hit the valve.
Alex Bozargian is joining us live now with what
I
they
thought so when you saw the
Alex?
vehicle.
The couple described what they saw as surreal, almost as if it was happening in slow motion. They say the white SUV caught their eye and not long after veered out of control. Investigators believe it was that crash that caused this fire. That fire still burning strongly tonight. Howard Williams says he was getting help from an employee at Discount Tire when he heard a big boom.
I stepped around the counter and I could see the vehicle, but it was on fire. He said when it went off, he saw it, and that vehicle was about 8 or 10 foot in the air, and he saw it land.
Authorities believe the person in this now burnt up white SUV drove straight through the fence on the west side of
Remember, I
Walmart's
said
parking lot.
It caught our eye because the car was moving so slow as we passed it.
Over the phone, Chad and Sherry Richard described spotting the car from the Walmart parking lot. They say the driver appeared to be elderly.
All I can remember is seeing she was wearing glasses, and we just kind of like circled
She?
around. to
Oh
get
my
in a
God.
parking
Is
spot.
she
As soon as
dead?
I got in a parking spot, it's like my wife said. All of a sudden, that car just veered off.
Sherry says the SUV drove through some brush, then the fence, and ultimately made it to flat ground before accelerating towards the pipeline.
I bet she had a
hits
heart
it,
attack.
And you can feel it hit. The car goes up in the air and back down, and then once it hits the ground, it's a boom, and then there's gas, there's fire everywhere.
My thought was she had a heart attack or whatever, and the car just kind of drifted over there.
Yep.
It wasn't going really at
Elderly.
a fast rate of speed, but once it got over the fence, it's like it just automatically just picked up.
Deer Park authorities could not provide any details on the driver. They did tell us the FBI has investigated, and there's no indication this was an act of terrorism. They described it
Maybe a
as an
stroke.
isolated incident. Williams, now personally
So
invested,
she is
hoping
presumed
for answers soon.
I'm sure
deceased.
they're not okay, but I'm just curious to see after just hear what really happened.
Well, our prayers go out to whoever may have been in that car. Obviously, a lot of evidence that's going to need to be processed once this fire takes its course, but really a ghost town out here now, just emergency crews that are monitoring this fire, but we will certainly stay on top of it and bring you details as soon as we know more.
So it is still burning. And guys, it's most likely was a medical emergency that caused that. And if she was actually in the vehicle, she's what we would call cremated. And that's horrible for the family. Okay, here we go. Back to Carly Gregg. It could take another couple of days. Okay, let me pause this. There is 20 miles of pipeline that has to burn off. And the pipeline is 20 inches around. Okay. So it's going to take some time. It's better to burn it off than to allow it to spill, not oil, natural, it's a gas. It's a natural oil. Natural oil. Sorry. Whatever it is, it's going to take some time. They're hoping maybe tomorrow. Once they can get it down to a certain level and get the heat down to a certain temperature. Huh? Me? Toxic? I don't think so. Oh, I have no idea what you're saying. Toxic, don't get me going. Booger, huh? Oh, Carly. Oh, don't scare me. Here we go. Oh, I got to do this thing again. Bah. What is she doing? That did not feel well within my ears. Oh, the father came home. Is that what happened? Toxic. Whoa, 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 whoa. Emergency room? What? If you don't want to say, DM me. What the heck's happening? Oh, God, you scared me. I thought something was wrong with the baby. Well, how's Banshee? I will. Right now. Thank you, Toxic. My son had the same thing. I'm sorry, Toxic. Thanks for all the documents. I'll look at them later. Who are all these people coming? Welcome, Mary Kay. Hello, beautiful. For those who were just hopping on, if you did not get to see the other video, I will come back and replay it. It's horrific. So this is the father. Who's in the van? Who drove the van in? I'm confused because at 16, so this is about 15 minutes after she unalived her mom. There it goes. She unalived her to no spoiler alert. There she goes. Where's she going? Where's the boy going? I need music. Bum, brum, 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 brum. I don't know why. When things get heavy, I tend to kind of cut up a little bit to lighten it a little. That's how I handle things. Wow. This is bad. I'll be more serious. I'm sorry. This is my first time seeing this.
Mr. Smiley, is that a true and accurate representation of what you recall once you got home that afternoon?
Yes.
Who was that screaming that we heard on the video?
It was Carly screaming, and you heard me holler, "What's the matter?"
And what about seeing Carly made you ask her what was wrong?
I could immediately tell that something was bad wrong with Carly. Just the screaming, her eyes were just huge. Looked like she was terrified.
Have you ever heard Carly scream like that before?
No.
Have you ever seen Carly look as terrified as she did on March 19th before?
No.
Would Carly have any reason to run from you?
No.
Mr. Smiley, can you describe the full floor plan at your house?
I guess it's what you call.
Is this her father?
It's got kind of on the north end, it's a master bedroom, bath, and closet. Living room and kitchen kind of in the middle, and then on the other end there's two smaller bedrooms that share a bathroom in between the two.
And where was Carly's bedroom?
It was on the southeast end of the house.
And
corner.
you mentioned that there was where Carly's bedroom was, there was also a
Other.
bathroom and another
Okay.
room.
Yes.
What did you use that other bedroom for?
A lot of just general storage stuff, and had some weights, and there's a little treadmill in there.
Kind of what we call like a junk room.
Yeah, a lot of junk in the closet, on a shelf, and laying around. And
Okay. And is there a hallway that separates the kitchen and the living room from that side of the house?
yes,
And where was the indoor camera located?
it was in the
Very
corner
possible.
of the kitchen / dining room open area.
And is the kitchen, living room area of your house, is that open?
Yes.
And let me ask you this. How would you describe your and Ashley's marriage?
We got along great. We, I don't guess we ever really had anything we just disagreed on or anything.
And were you still in your honeymoon phase?
Yeah.
And just for the record, you can't nod. You have to answer yes or no for the court
Yes,
reporter.
yes, I'm sorry.
And
Very much so.
anything had Carly told you about her biological dad, Kevin Gregg, doing drugs?
I have a problem with that.
Everyone that I can think of, it sounds like he has either tried or does regularly.
And what did her biological dad doing drugs in her presence?
He was constantly doing drugs in front of her, blowing smoke in her face. Turns out that he sat her down and made her drink an entire beer when she was 12.
And what, if anything, had Carly told you about her dad offering her drugs during her visitation periods?
Not sure on that, but I think she said they were laying around all over the place throughout his house. And I think he had tried to get her to do some various things at one point or another.
And
Okay.
that
So
day, the second door was what was closed.
Yes.
I believe you said that you didn't get it open probably 3 or 5 inches before it went off. What did you remember seeing, Heath?
Just gun flash in my face, and then it went off 2 more times, but my hand was on the gun after the first shot, and I twisted it from her.
Who was pointing that gun at you?
It was Carly.
Who pulled the trigger when you opened the door?
The first one I know was Carly. After that, my hand was on the gun too, and I know I had a scratch on my thumb and all. I very well could have hit it. I know that third time.
How close, Heath, was that gun to your face when that went off?
Maybe a foot.
Did you ever get struck by a bullet?
Yes, one of them kind of grazed right through this muscle up here.
Can you tell, ladies and gentlemen, what did that feel like?
fire.
I know this sounds weird, but I honestly have never felt it to this day.
Oh.
When the gun went off in your face, tell ladies and gentlemen, I mean, was your body in a state of shock?
Not at that moment. I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Did you see anybody inside your home other than Carly?
No.
Walk us through. You said that you were able to at some point get the gun from her. Tell us, Heath, what is it that you remember after that?
She was screaming out of her mind, scared. It was like she had seen a demon or something. She was terrified. And my first thought was there was an intruder somewhere, and she thought she was after somebody else.
And to be clear, Carly never told you that she thought somebody else was in the house, right?
No, that's the feeling that I got. She was terrified out of her mind.
And at that time, you did not yet know that your wife was dead, right?
No, not at that time.
So Carly's scared. She's screaming when she shoots at you. How many shots went off from that gun?
At that time, there was 3.
What type of gun was it that you took from Carly?
It was my Taurus revolver.
And
How
what
was she
type of
able to get it?
What caliber of weapon is that?
So the gun is a .357 Magnum, but I think it had 38 special rounds in it. You can, if the gun's a .357, it can also shoot 38s. A little bit lighter recoil.
Big.
And
Not a little
what
22.
color was that gun?
Black
It's
handled
just,
silver.
My gun matte silver.
Prior to taking it out of Carly's hand, where was the last time you saw that gun?
I actually kept it on her side of the bed. So it had been there for probably a couple of years.
When you say on her side of the bed, was it on a nightstand or was it somewhere else?
I think she kept it. We had like little cubbies underneath the edge of the bed. The mattress is sitting up on. I think it was sitting up.
I'm
under
sure
there.
he has.
Between the mattress and the cubbies, like
Well, I
underneath
think
the
it was
mattress?
just. I think she just had it in a cubby under there.
Was the gun just loose or was it in some sort of holster the last time you saw it?
I do not recall that. It was a while back. It had been sitting for a long time.
Did you have other guns in the house on that day?
Yes.
I'm not
I
doing well
had
with my coffee.
An old shotgun that I've had for years that's unloaded in the closet. And I had an AR that I had gotten. It was also unloaded in the closet.
Were there some other guns maybe in a safe too somewhere?
There was a Glock in the safe. There was a BB gun probably in the house somewhere too. I don't know.
Do you know if Carly knew the location of any of those guns?
She probably knew about the two in the closet, but like I said, they were unloaded. And the last time I had tried to talk her into shooting, she was too little to even hold them up.
Why would
Heavy,
you want to?
big.
Y'all,
And you had
if
you had
the
several
pew
guns in your
pew's bigger
house.
than
Did you and Ashley
the
ever
little
go
kid, you
shoot
don't hand
guns?
it to
Yes,
him.
we did.
That was something y'all enjoyed doing together.
Yes.
When you took the gun out of Carly's hand, what did you do with the gun?
I was holding on to it, and like I said, I at that time thought there might be someone else in the house, like a intruder or something. So I immediately started checking the house and looking for Ashley.
Did you attempt to call Ashley also?
I did.
I want to take just a step back, Heath. You get the gun from Carly. You said that she was screaming.
Can't get it clean.
What did she do next?
She fell back into the kitchen island, just kind of straight back onto her butt, and was screaming, jumped up, ran out the back door. And I mean, I'm still pretty quick and agile, but I knew I couldn't catch her. She was moving so fast. She ran out the back and took off, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to catch her, so I turned around, stepped back in, and I locked the back door behind me.
Do you know why you locked the back door?
Because I was thinking there might be someone else out and about and around, in or out of the house. So I went to checking the house.
Do you remember telling anybody that you were in such shock that you didn't even try to shoot Carly back or anything like that?
No, it was very evident to me immediately that something was very, very off with Carly.
It is
the way
big.
She was screaming, the way she looked. She was moving so fast.
So, Heath, you said Carly is at this point, she's out of the house, she's run off.
She bolted.
You never actually saw someone, other than Carly at the house, right?
No.
So you locked the back door, you're going through the house, you have this firearm
No, it's not.
in your hand. At any point, did you open up the firearm?
Okay, it is not mandatory by law, but it's called being responsible.
I opened the cylinder on it to check to see how many had been used or was left in it, and closed it back up and started checking the house.
When you opened it back up, how many live rounds did it appear were left in the gun?
Just one.
And how many rounds does that .357 Magnum revolver hold?
It's a 7-shot.
So you knew that she'd
Kristen,
fired at that
can you
point.
get
knew
a
she'd
hold of
fired
that
3
video for me?
at or in
Because
your
I've not
direction.
seen it.
Yes.
You did not know what the other 3 had been used for.
Correct.
That's
The
true.
last time you saw that gun, were all 7 rounds live?
As far as I know, I guess the last time it had been
Very
used
true,
was a couple years before,
Sneaky.
sometime when Ashley had shot at some, and I assume she had reloaded it.
So Heath, you're walking through the house. You have this gun, afraid that maybe there's somebody else in the house. You said, I believe that you tried to call Ashley.
Yes.
Did she answer?
No.
Did you find her phone?
Found her phone. It was on a counter in our living room.
Was there a second phone beside it?
Yes.
I don't know the name of the video, but I'll try and find it.
I didn't really stop to look.
So you realize that Ashley's phone is there. Walk us through what happened next, Heath.
What?
Checked our bedroom, bathroom, closet, other side of the bed, under the desk in there, and turned and started looking going towards the other end of the house, and I glanced in our spare little third bedroom, and then turned and went into Carly's room, and that's where I found Ashley.
When you found Ashley, can you tell the ladies and gentlemen what you saw?
Kristen, I don't know what video this is in. That you're referring to look up. I'll try and find it, but I don't know.
She was laying on her back and had her hands kind of across her, and a towel over her face.
Do you remember what color the towel was?
I do not.
When you saw her laying there, what's the very next thing that you did?
Checked her pulse, see, and kind of moved the towel, and then called 911.
And Heath, when you moved the towel, what did you see?
I knew she had been shot. There was blood around, but I don't really recall exactly where. Somewhere in the right side of her face there.
You said you called 911.
Yes.
What did you tell the 911 operator had happened?
I'm not finding it.
Tried to immediately tell him I needed the police out, that my wife had been killed. And
What
I had
day?
been shot.
Do you remember telling them who had shot you?
Excuse me, guys. There's so much stuff on the internet. If you can at least give me the date of trial. I know this is what, day 2. I haven't been covering this because we were covering something else. So please forgive me if I don't know where it is.
I assume I said Carly.
I have
on
the
there,
body
but
cam
I don't remember exactly
of the scene with this gentleman.
Do you recall telling the 911
That's all I
operator
know.
that, oh my God, she's killed her mother too?
I don't recall saying that, but it's very possible, I guess.
At that point, Heath, did you think that Carly was the one that had killed her mother?
I didn't know what was going on at that point. I kind of went into shock there.
At some point,
Okay,
and
thank
again,
you,
the ladies
fellow
and
Brit.
gentlemen, Heath have seen
Thank you.
some
I
of
can
the
find
body
that.
cam
Thank
footage
you.
from that day, but at some point, someone from the sheriff's department does come to your house.
Yes.
Walk us through what you remember happening once he gets there.
Appreciate it.
I don't know much there other than I got out the front door and just laid down on the front porch.
And it's pretty safe to say that you were still in a state of shock.
Yes.
At some point, were you loaded up by the paramedics?
Yes.
And where did they take you?
Took me to Baptist Hospital ER.
And what was the reason for taking you to Baptist Hospital?
They wanted to get me checked out and make sure everything was okay. They knew it wasn't real bad or anything, so they just trying to.
You
be
said it was in this
cautious.
this muscle right
but
there.
you had in fact suffered a gunshot wound.
Yes, they got me down to the ER and they put a piece of gauze, taped some gauze on it, and sent me back home.
And it went through your kind of right, like trap muscle area.
Yeah, it
how
was a through.
far-
There's nothing they can do.
Not to pick on you, you don't look like a very large man.
Let it
pretty
heal
average
inside
size.
out.
I mean, would you agree with me that where your trap muscle is in your head are about 6 inches apart?
I guess, yes.
So that shot was pretty close to your head.
It's close, yes.
You were the gunshot actually, thank goodness, went kind of through and through, right?
Yes.
So you didn't require any surgery to remove the projectiles.
No.
In fact, Heath, I think you were actually, excuse me, I think you were actually released to go home that evening.
Yes, they, like I said, they tacked a piece of gauze on me, and I don't remember them doing a whole lot else.
And the night was probably pretty hectic as far as telling people what happened and what was going on. At any point, did you ever tell anyone that it was someone other than Carly Gregg that had shot you or Ashley?
That's painful.
Not that I recall, no, ma'am.
And to this day, you've not told anyone that you think that the person that shot you or shot Ashley was somebody other than Carly, have you?
No.
We talked a little bit about law enforcement being at the house that night. At some
Okay, I'm going to pause it here because I've got the trial footage now pulled. I need to ask y'all the question. I don't know what you're talking about, the cigarette or the vape. Question. Is it in a picture or is it in an actual video? Is it the video where she walks through the kitchen into the room? I'm confused. We played a video earlier. Now he's showing a picture. Let me do this.
The kitchen into the laundry room area right here, or the mud room and laundry room type of situation in this house. You can clearly see a dot in the middle of the doorway there, which is of course the
Okay.
door's open. So there's clearly a defect in that wall. It's not how it came from the manufacturer. Something made that defect. And so as we continue into that room, so this is a more medium.
Okay, this is what we just watched. Oh, I have not seen this. Okay, this I had not seen. All right, here we go. Thank you for telling me where it was. That's not supposed to be doing that on my end. Why is it doing that on my end? That is so weird. The video is wigging out, y'all. Okay, I just guess I'll have to leave. Do that. And then I'll do that again and get off. That's weird. We'll just leave the mouse on the page. Okay, wait. This video is a little bit sketchy on my end. I want to go back. So this is this her mother walking in? That's her mom. Okay, got it. So there's her mother. Okay. I will be caught up by tomorrow. They have a good dog blow dryer right there. Those are fabulous. That's what I used when I used to groom dogs. So obviously they had been grooming or preparing to groom the dog. Hence the towel on the floor. But that blue thing on the table has a big hose. That's a very powerful blow dryer for pets. Fabulous. And it also will de-shed them. I have one. Love it. I had like 4 of them when I was a professional groomer. Thank you for joining the family. We appreciate you. Y'all don't forget to leave some DNA and join our family. We have members only lives once a month. We do try to do fun things. Are they fighting? Because my captioning ain't picking it up. You have no idea. You have no idea. Yeah, that's the way it feels. Exactly. So then she comes back in. Let me get the video pulled up because on my feed it's been a little wonky. Okay. And then why are you blinking? My video is flickering. And to think that this woman has no idea that she's in the last moments of her life is beyond me. Yep. Yep. So is her mom supposedly digging through the bedroom to see what she could find? Because that's the first thing I would do. That's the first thing my mama would have done. She'd have me sit on that bed, although there was nothing to ever find. But I wrote a note to somebody and said something my mama didn't like, and it pissed her off. So I had to sit on the bed and fear for my life. Well, not literally, but in fear that she's going to find what I said. Multiple places. There's her mom. I had not seen or heard of any reports. Like I said, this was not a case I was going to cover because, oh, that's bad. Because we had the Donna Adelson case, and this was going to conflict, so I was not going to cover it. So I'm a little bit behind the ball. So we'll see about me going live tomorrow. Didn't the defense rest today? So I'll have to watch tonight when I go to bed. I'll speed watch the first 2 days. But I do have to work on my college paper. Mm. I found out while we're waiting in my family, my father was the first to get a bachelor's, then master's degree. My daughter and I will be the second and third. She will probably graduate before I will, or will do the same time. I don't know. And then if she gets hers and I get mine, we'll be the only 3 people on my side of the family to ever get a bachelor's, master's. I'd like to go for my PhD, and I'll be the first one. The state rested, so the defense will be tomorrow. Okay, so I'll catch up, and we'll go live tomorrow. Thursday, I'll set it. Miss Kevin hopefully will be back. There's the vape in the hand. I see it. And then while I'm on the road, I'll be monitoring, but I will be gone after 1 o'clock my time. Yes, you're correct. Yes, I did see that portion. I did see the portion where she comes back in, goes to the left, and then she comes to the right, and you hear 3 distinctive bangs. Yeah, I'll go watch all of it in a little bit. I got to figure out my paper. It's supposed to be in on Friday. Yeah, it's a lot. I got to get that. I got to resolve the paper on Friday. Yeah, I'm sure I'm fine. It's just I've never written. Oh, there she goes. I've never written this kind of paper before. Oh, she's done for. Yeah, she's done for. So she puts it up on the thing behind her. She gets on the phone and I guess texting her father, when will you be home? Is that the correct? Because I haven't seen this. Oh, yeah. The animals, you could tell, were sensing the tension long before. Definitely. Mm. The husband. The husband. I'll get it right. Stepfather. There she gets it. Oh. The white one seems to be more actively stressed, and the yellow orange seems to be more like, what the hell just happened? It's in the series you just showed. If you look at it from number 1 and the way to number 15, you'll see it. See what? Okay, now I'm gonna switch feeds because I'm having a problem with the feed that I have. It's flickering way too much. And Trial TV doesn't mind if I share those so I can de-embiggen my window, which is way too big. Okay, put it back, save layout, go to here, go to here. Ha, okay. So we're gonna play from here. We don't have a whole lot of.
But you're still under subpoena.
Hi, Ann. How are you? Oh, two Anns. Yep.
While he's exiting the rooms, do any of the jurors need a restroom break before we have further witnesses? Anybody?
But I
then
do
one-
remember seeing I did see it. I did see the vape.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Have a seat, adjust yourself up to the microphone.
Like I said, I'm catching up. My
You don't have to
apologies.
speak directly into the microphone, but you speak so the gentleman on the back row there can hear you, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, you understand that you're now under oath and your answers to be sworn answers under penalty of perjury?
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed.
Mr. Cotton, if you would introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen.
Zachary Cotton. I'm an investigator at the Rankin County Sheriff's Department.
Investigator Cotton, how long have you been with the Rankin County Sheriff's Department?
I started in April of 2015.
And tell us kind of work your way through, because did you start in dispatch?
The jail.
The jail.
Yes, ma'am. And I went to the academy in January of 2017.
And so you graduated from Law Enforcement Academy in 17, and then were you with the Sheriff's Department as a road deputy at that point?
I was a school resource officer at the beginning, and then in December of 2017, I transferred to patrol.
On March the 19th of 2024, what role were you in with the Rankin County Sheriff's Department?
I was working in investigations.
Did you have the opportunity to be called out to 314 Ashton Way?
214, actually.
214.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
And where is that?
It's over there in Farmington Station, over there off of Farmington Boulevard, out in Brandon, Mississippi.
And what was your reason for going out to that location?
The sheriff's department received a call from a male that had stated that he had been shot by his stepdaughter and that his wife was found deceased inside the residence.
And what was your role when you arrived on the scene at that location?
When we initially got there, I, along with other parties on scene, made sure the residence was safe. Other investigators had made it on scene prior to my arrival and began taking pictures. While I was on scene, it was noted that a friend of the suspect or the defendant had been located in the area. I went outside and interviewed him whenever he was outside the residence.
And we heard from testimony from him yesterday. What, if anything, did you do after you spoke to the male friend that came that day?
His mother was there, explained to her that we would need his phone in order to make a forensic copy of the phone, due to him admitting that he had communicated with the defendant through his cellular device. Around the time that he was being interviewed, and I'm not sure the exact time, but it was informed that Miss Gregg was taken into custody. At that time, it was verified where to take her, whether or not the jail or to the youth detention center due to her age. It was decided to take her to the youth detention center out in Pelahatchie.
While on the scene, did you have interaction with Miss Gregg?
If I did, it was very brief. I don't recall.
Did you have an opportunity at the sheriff's department to do any sort of testing on Miss Gregg?
I did not. One of the other investigators, whenever she was arrested at the scene, was able to test her for gunshot residue and did initial photographs of her person.
Did anybody take any buccal swabs of Miss Gregg?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware of when that happened?
It was approximately a week later. I obtained a search warrant for buccal swabs.
Yes, ma'am.
I've handed you one envelope. What do you recognize that to be?
It says it's a buccal swab of her left cheek and a buccal swab of Miss Gregg's right cheek.
And those are both of Carly Gregg, the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
Did those appear to be altered in any way?
No, ma'am. Other than they were taken to the crime lab.
If you would you turn them over? Are your initials on those?
Yes, ma'am.
And what does that mean?
That I sealed it on that specific date.
Your Honor, we'd ask that these be marked as state's next exhibits.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, mark the left cheek as S47.
She's definitely, yes. And I believe she's definitely suffering from a dissociative state as soon as it happens. Either that or she's a cold hearted person and has no conscience
Investigator,
whatsoever.
Excuse me.
It is brutal,
Were
it's
you
calculus,
also-
and
did
it's
you
cold.
also close and seal evidence of swabs taken from the firearm used to kill Miss Smiley?
That was not me. I believe that was Investigator Bernell did that.
May I approach witness, Your Honor?
It is sneaky. It really is. It would terrify me to think that my child could do that to me. Of course, we don't know until it happens, but the fact that it can happen is just bone chilling. I just never thought. My mind doesn't go there. Maybe it should have, but it never did.
I'm handing you 2 envelopes. If you could take a look at those, both front and back. What are those 2 envelopes?
They this one says it's a swab taken off of the trigger of the firearm, and this other one says it's a swab from the hammer of the revolver.
And do those both bear your initials as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Indicating that you do know what those are?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that taken from the hammer and the trigger of the weapon used in this crime?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we'd ask that those be marked as the state's next exhibit.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, S49 will be the swab of the hammer. S50 will be the swab of the trigger.
Investigator, we've heard from 2 other officers, a deputy and investigator, that were involved in this case, and so I certainly don't want to rehash what they've talked about. We've gotten, I think, through the point where in the investigation where the crime scene was cleaned up, or processed, I'm sorry, the victim was taken out of the home, both the living and the deceased victim. At some point, did you have the opportunity to observe an autopsy on Ashley Smiley?
Yes, ma'am. It was approximately a week later. I believe it was on March 26th at the Mississippi Crime Lab.
May I approach her? I'm handing you what's previously been marked as 41 and 42 for ID. If you could take a look.
These are both projectiles that were recovered from the body of Ashley Smiley, one of which was recovered from her brain and the other which was recovered from the back of her neck.
And were you present when the autopsy was performed and those projectiles were removed?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And did you also seal that evidence?
I believe the crime lab sealed that one due to them being the one that actually recovered the projectiles.
It's so
but you were
horrible.
present when they were recovered?
Yes, ma'am.
We'd ask that those be marked as an exhibit rather than ID at this time, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
They'll be admitted all purposes. Please hand them back to the court reporter. They mark 41 and 42 all purposes.
I think mental issues could be taken in consideration.
You may proceed.
But honestly, what I just saw, calculated. And I believe you're right. She had thought about this before. It was too smooth.
Investigator Cotton,
she does.
Who all did you witness, or who all did you, I guess, interview in this case?
One of the parties that was interviewed was the friend that was over at the residence at the time Mr. Smiley was shot.
And her initials would be the BW, correct?
True.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then as well as the friend that was outside the residence that was located, whose initials are BG.
Okay.
I also spoke with parents of some of the other juveniles that Miss Gregg had attempted to contact on the date that this incident occurred, as well as Mr. Smiley.
Okay. And when I guess, you were at this, you originally were the investigator who got the, I guess, a little SD drive, with that SD card, would that be correct?
The one that he provided to us went with the initial garage footage.
Yes.
Is that one? Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and you were at the scene that night, when this takes place on the 19th.
Yes, sir. I went to the residence for a short period of time.
And you helped with the investigation, and you're the lead investigator.
Yes, sir. Investigator Bernell helped me with it.
Okay. And so you gathered all the all the evidence and information that you could on the 19th.
Investigator Bernell did. I wasn't there for the processing of the scene. I had left to go back to the office.
Okay. And then what did you do when you got back to the office?
We have a drying chamber up there that we can secure clothes and other evidence in there that may either be saturated in blood or just water in general. Miss Gregg's clothes, whenever she was booked in, were brought up there and placed in this drying chamber to dry out.
Now, you're the person, I guess, who's in charge of gathering all the evidence for this case. Would that be correct?
I assisted with it. I had other investigators assist me with it as well.
Okay, but you're you're the main guy in this case, so everything sort of comes to you. Would that be correct?
Yes, sir. Eventually it would come back to me.
Okay. And so you see all the videos, you know everything that's out there concerning this case, right?
I would believe so, yes.
Okay. Now, I know at some point there's a video with I guess a deputy Stack.
Oh, Shack?
Shack, I'm sorry, Shack. Are you aware of that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does Carly ask to see her mother on that video, doesn't she?
I don't recall.
Okay. Now, I guess you interviewed Heath, is that correct?
Yes, sir, at a later date, not on the date that the incident occurred.
Okay. When you interview Heath, and this is, I guess it's a couple days after, is that correct?
I think it was approximately a week and a half. It was the very beginning of April.
Okay. And he comes and sits down, and had you gotten the SD card at that time?
Yes, I don't disagree, Ann.
Okay. And so, because I noticed it said that you and it was you, his attorney, and himself, and he had gotten an attorney based upon whatever happens with this SD card, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you're asking him, sort of why this happens or why this happened, because this was not normal for, somebody just walk up and shoot their mother, correct? Especially if there's not a sort of a history or something, correct?
I may have. I don't remember the specific question, but I may have an interview.
Okay. And it's at that time where, and Heath doesn't really know, correct?
Correct.
And so the next thing that happens is y'all start talking about, yes, she was in treatment and they had switched her medication. And I don't think he could tell you what it was, but you just had a general conversation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so that was the first time you learned that there may be psychological issues in this case.
Hi, Robin Noel. Long time no see.
Now, we had just seen, there was a video, and I think it's a video you've been questioned about before. And it was, I guess it's the video, it's the camera that was found, not the little SD card, but the camera that was found in the refrigerator. You know what we're talking about with that camera?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think you've been questioned about it, and you said you can't tell what Miss Smiley, what room she's in, correct?
You talking about Miss Ashley Smiley?
Yes, Ashley Smiley. You do not know what room she's in. At
No, sir. I
different
can't
times.
say for certain which room she's in.
And you can't tell anything that she was carrying or not carrying or anything. You were never able to identify it.
It's not. It's kind of the distance. It's not really discernible what exactly it is. She just had stuff in her hands at some points.
And I think your testimony would be from before is that you didn't see them fighting or doing anything that was out of the ordinary before this incident happened, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think you checked with her friends at school and
Appreciate
everything
it.
to see if there was
really
anything
do.
there that had caused problems.
I spoke with the BW and BG. I know BG had mentioned that he had told Miss Smiley prior to them leaving school that day that he had informed her of a phone that she wasn't supposed to have because, to my understanding, she was in trouble already and had her actual phone taken away, and had told her about what he called weed pens that she had been using, and he said that he had told Miss Smiley that prior to her leaving school and going home with Miss Gregg.
And I think he also had told you he didn't see
Lay down.
anyone like Miss Smiley mad or anything like that when he left Miss Smiley, correct?
I believe so.
Now, I just a couple of questions. I was just wondering. Okay, BG he's a minor, correct? He's already testified.
Yes.
Okay, and you questioned him at the scene and also at the police station, or just at the scene?
No, sir. Just at the scene.
Okay, and
Yep.
did you get his parents' permission to do that before you did it?
No, sir. He wasn't a suspect at the time, and his mother, right when I began speaking with him, actually walked up. I believe he had already called her.
So
Okay.
Mama was there.
At some point, had y'all told him, and he had communicated to his mother that y'all were just taking him home?
Overruled as to what he told me.
Yeah. Did you tell BG that y'all were just going to take him home?
I do not recall. I don't remember saying that to him. I'm not sure if other deputies did.
May I beg the court's indulgence for a moment, Your Honor? And I just want to be clear. I think you've already it's sort of going back to that camera. You had said, I think you've already said that you couldn't tell if Ashley Smiley had been cleaning out a drawer like in the other room or something like that. You had no idea what she was doing, correct?
No, sir. She just appeared to be going over to that side of the residence where Miss Gregg's room was, and then coming out with items in her hand.
Okay. No further questions.
Redirect examination.
I would imagine you would.
May I approach her?
Oh, my baby girl. My big girl is giving me.
Ms. Gregg Cotton, I'm handing you what's previously
Driving me
been
crazy.
marked as Exhibit 36 and 37. Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's depicted in that photograph on the floor, deceased?
Ashley Smiley.
And whose room was that, did you determine during your course of your investigation?
It was Carly Gregg's room.
And in the course of your investigation, were there also other signs that the shooting had occurred in that bedroom?
Yes, ma'am. I believe there was some blood spatter on the television that was in the room that was mounted on the wall, as well as there was a defect in the wall where one of the projectiles had gone.
Was there any evidence that any crime had occurred in the guest bedroom?
No, ma'am, not that we found.
Based on your investigation, the murder of Ashley Smiley occurred in what bedroom?
In Miss Gregg's bedroom.
And who murdered her?
Miss Gregg.
And based off your investigation, who attempted to murder Heath Smiley?
Miss Gregg.
And based off your investigation, and we watched the video just a few moments ago, who's the last person that was alive in the house when the camera goes out?
Miss Gregg was.
Is it your understanding that she's the one that removed the camera?
Yes, ma'am.
No further questions, Your Honor.
This witness be finally excused by the state.
Subject to recall, Your Honor.
All right. You're free to stand down, but you must leave the courtroom and you must not discuss your testimony with anyone else. Okay? Free to step down. While he exits, Mr. Bailiff, would you hand the exhibits to the court reporter? State may call its next witness.
The state calls David Whitehead.
David Whitehead. While he's entering, do you wish to go ahead and grab the exhibits that you're going to need?
Yes, sir.
Y'all, this is insane. Sorry. I'm trying to build my little thing that I do with this case. Sorry.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do. Have a seat. Just yourself up to the microphone. You don't have to talk directly into the microphone, but I need you to speak loud enough that the gentleman up there on the back row, far back.
Oh, just scream it.
You understand you're now under oath and your answers are sworn answers subject to penalty of perjury? Yes, sir. All right, you may proceed.
Talk to the ladies and gentlemen.
David Whitehead.
And David, where are you currently employed?
I'm employed at the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory in Pearl, Mississippi.
And you're our first witness from the crime lab today, the forensics laboratory. So could you explain for the ladies and gentlemen what you guys do over there?
We provide forensic examinations to 8 law enforcement agencies in the state of Mississippi.
And what is your position at the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory?
I'm a forensic scientist as well as the section chief of the trace evidence section, the supervisor.
Ask the
And
boss.
what exactly does a section chief of trace evidence do?
We do items of trace evidence, gunshot residue, hair, fibers, paints, glass, fire debris. We have probably $1.5 million worth of analytical equipment. As well as I'm the
bragging
supervisor of
butt.
that section,
Sorry.
responsible for the technical aspects of the trace evidence section.
And how long have you been employed there with the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory?
I've been with the laboratory since January of '94, so a little over 30 years.
Do you have any previous experience testifying as a forensic scientist and with a subspecialty of trace evidence?
Yes, ma'am. I've testified probably north of 400 times in circuit court in Mississippi, circuit court in Louisiana, as well as federal court in the state of Mississippi. As a matter of fact, I've testified here on several occasions.
And if you could give the ladies and gentlemen just a kind of background on what education you have and kind of how you got to be in this role.
Yes, ma'am. I hold degrees in chemistry and forensic science from the University of Mississippi. I've attended numerous schools and seminars over the years. I've been to the FBI Academy in Quantico, several different classes. I've been to McCrone Research Institute in Chicago. I'm certified by the American Board of Criminalistics after passing the national certification test in 1998. So my certification is in comprehensive criminalistics. I'm also a member of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, the Southern Association of Forensic Scientists, and the American Society of Trace Evidence Examiners. And of course, our laboratory is an accredited laboratory. We're accredited by the organization called ANAB.
Your Honor, at this time, we would move to have this witness tendered as an expert as a forensic scientist with a specialty in trace evidence.
Without objection, he'll be admitted as an expert witness in the field of forensic science with specialty in trace evidence. You may proceed.
Mr. Whitehead, if you could explain to us exactly what trace evidence is.
Trace evidence deals with small items of evidence, trace amounts. We analyze such things as I previously stated, hairs, textile fibers, paints, glass, gunshot residue, and in addition to that, fire debris type evidence where we're looking at charred debris for ignitables. We do a lot of comparison work where we're comparing unknown samples to known samples, but probably our biggest caseload is gunshot residue examinations. We probably get about 400 or 500 of those cases in a year. And our second most caseload is going to be fire debris.
And what is gunshot residue?
Gunshot residue is produced when a weapon
Sorry,
is discharged.
talking to my sister. She got her autoimmune, her immune
gases
therapy
escaping
today
any opening in the
for her
weapon.
cancer.
We're
So y'all keep her in
specifically
prayer.
looking for primer residue, which
Please.
comes from the primer cup. So when the firing pin strikes in the weapon strikes the ammunition, the primer cup, it ignites those components. That ignites the gunpowder, which is what propels a projectile out the end of the barrel.
Are y'all liking
Get
this,
these
what I call the
gases
bottom
escaping any
runner?
opening in the barrel. When it hits the cooler air outside the weapon, it'll condense into
Thank you.
particles. These particles are microscopic in
We
size.
do need to do the fundraiser. We're
They
just trying to
contain
find a
lead,
date.
barium, and antimony, and they will have a spherical morphology.
And what type of testing, or can you describe for us how you test for gunshot residue?
We utilize what is called a scanning electron microscope with an energy dispersive X-ray analyzer. That's a fancy name for a large microscope that analyzes these tiny particles. Since they're about a micron in diameter, you have to have a pretty powerful instrument to look for these. The microscope actually visualizes the particles. The X-ray detector actually tells us the composition of those particles. And again, we're looking for lead, barium, and antimony particles. Those are what are produced from primer residue.
And I want to take just a step back. You mentioned earlier that the lab is accredited. Do you also undergo like performance testings on the machinery that you use?
We're accredited every 4 years. So every 4 years, a team comes in and inspects all aspects of the organization. As well as we're proficiency tested every year. So every year we complete proficiency tests that are outside proficiency tests, and we to look for things like gunshot residue or the other disciplines.
And for people that are not familiar with those proficiency tests, is that like I would do my research or my testing, I would submit my report, and an outside agency would then review everything and make sure that that was proper?
Sort of like that. What we do is the outside agency will produce the proficiency tests. They have an expected outcome of those tests, and the report will be issued after the report is published on what that proficiency test is. So there is an expected answer.
Back in,
Anyway, you
back in-
can do
excuse me,
another
excuse me,
section
back
with
in
the witness
March
name.
of
Or is that hard to change with each
2024
witness?
through currently was your proficiency testing at the crime lab, and you're specifically up.
What I do,
Yes, as a matter of fact,
let
they
me
just
pause
completed
this so I can explain this to you.
Mr. Whitehead, did you have the opportunity to work on Mississippi crime?
Okay. When we are actually in trial, if you look on YouTube, you will have in the pinned comments the name of the witness. Doing the witness this way I can't. It's really hard to do. What we normally do is pin the comment. Is that okay? Um, that's what we normally do. Let me think about that. See, all these other places that like Court TV and all them, they have one person that has it geared up and ready to go. I'm doing this all myself. What I may do is make this smaller and then add a little thing up here, and then I can quickly go and change it. Let me think about that. Good point.
Lab case
we go.
number 24003-524.
I did.
And who was the suspect in that case?
The suspect was listed as being a Carly Greggs.
And the work and the testing that you did on that case, was that also reviewed by anyone else?
It was. All of our casework is reviewed by a second examiner, and that particular examiner in this case was Jacob Birchfield.
And did he agree with the results of your findings?
He did.
What evidence did you review or did you receive in order to do your testing?
I received a gunshot residue evidence collection kit labeled as coming from Carly Gregg.
Permission to approach witness, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody has a not so happy cough.
I handed you what's previously been marked as Exhibit 43. Have you seen that item before?
I have. This is the gunshot residue evidence collection kit. I can identify it by the crime lab case number, submission number on the barcode that was placed there by an evidence tech when it was received into the laboratory. I can also identify it by the green evidence seal that I placed after the analysis was complete with my initials and date across that seal.
And being that that is still sealed, does that appear to be in the same or similar condition as when you closed it?
It does.
And for what purpose did you review that piece of evidence?
This item of evidence was analyzed for the presence of gunshot residue.
And did you perform that testing to see if there was gunshot residue present? Did you prepare a report with your findings in that case?
Yes, ma'am.
Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor? Is that an accurate copy of your report?
Yes, ma'am. This is a copy of the certified report that I issued in this particular case.
And that contains your findings?
It does.
And it bears your signature?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, we'd ask that this be marked as the state's next exhibit.
Any objection? No objection. Be admitted S51 for all purposes.
If you would, Mr. Whitehead, if you could explain, I know you've talked about what gunshot residue is and that you tested that particular kit. If you could just walk us through the testing on this particular item and what your findings were.
Yes, ma'am. This particular kit contained 2 adhesive tape lifts labeled right hand and left hand. The adhesive tape lifts, the idea is if there's any residue on the surface of a person's hands, it will be picked up by the adhesive tape lift. Those samples were then placed into the scanning electron microscope and analyzed for the presence of gunshot residue. And I reported out the results of that analysis.
And what were the results in this case?
Particles of gunshot residue were positively identified on the right hand, labeled as coming from Carly Gregg's, and the left hand, labeled as coming from Carly Gregg's.
And based on your training and experience, is the results rendered reliable?
Yes, ma'am.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
No questions to this witness, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be finally excused by the state?
Yes, sir.
By the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You're free to go, Ms. Morris. The state may call its next witness.
State calls Nathan Hawley.
Nathan Hawley.
Can we walk any slower, dude?
I do. Have a seat. Just yourself up to the microphone. You don't have to speak directly into the microphone, but you need to speak so that gentleman on the back row can hear you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you're now under oath and your answers to be sworn answers under penalty of perjury?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
If you would introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Sure. My name is Nathan Holly. The last name is Holly.
And Nathan, where are you currently employed?
I'm employed at the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory in Pearl, Mississippi.
Nathan, what do you do there at the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory?
So I'm a forensic biologist specializing in DNA analysis.
And does that require any type of specialized training?
Training that I have is from the forensics laboratory.
What about your educational background? Could you tell us what that is?
Sure. I have a bachelor's in biology with a minor in chemistry from the University of Southern Mississippi.
And how long have you been employed? I'm sorry, you might have already said that. How long have you been employed with the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory?
17 years next month.
And have you been doing DNA evidence and testing that entire time?
Yes, I have.
Do you have any prior experience testifying as a forensic scientist specializing in DNA evidence?
Yes, I do.
How many times would you estimate that you've been certified as an expert?
Approximately 27.
Your Honor, at this point, we would tender the expert to this witness as an expert in forensic science and DNA analysis.
Any objection? All right, they'll be admitted without objection as an expert, as a forensic scientist, as an expert in the area of forensic science, particularly DNA analysis. You may proceed.
Mr. Holly, if you could tell us, for those of us that are not science people, what DNA is.
Sure. So DNA first stands for
Miss Future, I tried to do it. I have to save every time. And oof, when I get my ATEM switcher thing up, yes, but right now I can't. I tried. It's just a ton of work. And by the time I get it done, he's halfway done with the testimony. But I apologize.
deoxyribonucleic acid. And it's a molecule that's found within the cells of the human body. And what DNA does is it tells the body how to build cells and also how to function and work those cells properly. A person gets their DNA half from their mom and half from their dad. And it's that combination of those two separate DNAs that gives everybody, except for identical twins, a unique DNA profile.
And when you do DNA testing, what are we talking about? What's done with our DNA?
Sure. So with the DNA testing, I'm looking at certain locations on that DNA molecule, and there are forensic tests that can determine what a person's DNA looks like at those locations. And I basically take items of evidence and I do the DNA process on those. And then I take reference samples or known samples, and then I compare those two DNA profiles to determine whether or not that person's DNA is there.
And a known sample would be like if a swab was taken from my mouth, we would know that that was my sample. Is that right?
Right. It's a known or reference.
And then an unknown sample would be something that you would collect or that law enforcement would collect on a piece of evidence and send that to you.
That's correct.
We just heard from Mr. Whitehead that the entire forensics laboratory, of course, is accredited. Is the DNA section of the laboratory also, does that fall under the accreditation?
Yes, it does.
And do you follow proper protocol there?
Yes, we do.
Have you personally provided or undergone any proficiency testing?
Yes.
If you could explain that to the ladies and gentlemen.
For DNA, we're proficiency tested twice a year, and it's from an outside company. And basically, it is for us to demonstrate that we are capable to do the DNA process or our job. And so there's a correct answer for that, and they double check us on that.
And your proficiency is up to date.
Yes.
Did you have the opportunity to work on a case? It's Mississippi Forensics Laboratory case number 24-003524.
Your Honor, may I refer to that? Yes, I did.
May I approach, in performing that work, did you actually did you render a report?
Yes, I did.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Your Honor, we're not going to have an objection to the document.
I'll go ahead and ask that it be marked this next statement exhibit.
Without objection, it'll be marked S52.
Mr. Holly, before you can do any testing there at the crime lab, you have to receive certain pieces of evidence. Is that right?
That's correct.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? I'll put these all out in front of you. I'm handing you what's previously been marked as Exhibit 47, 48, 49, and 50. If you could, starting with number 47, tell me what that is and how you know what that is.
So this is it is a buccal swab of Carly Gregg's left cheek. And it is, I can identify it from the crime lab barcode, which has the case number and submission number on it.
And did you, is there also a vocal swab of her right cheek?
Yes,
And did you rely on that evidence in your testing in this case?
I did.
I also handed you another item, looks like 2 additional swabs. Could you tell us what those were from?
So one is a swab from a hammer of a Taurus revolver. And once again, I can identify it by the crime lab barcode that has a case number, submission number, as well as the evidence tape with my date and initial on it. And then the other one is a swab taken off of a trigger of the firearm.
In performing DNA testing, do you actually have to, well, can you describe for us, like you take an extract from something?
Yes. So the DNA process starts with extraction. And what I'm doing during the extraction is I'm actually removing the cells off of whatever substrate they're on, whether it's a swab or a cutting. And I'm lysing open that cell and getting rid of all the other cellular components except for the DNA. So the only thing that I'm left with is that isolated DNA.
Did you do that in this particular case?
Yes, I did.
Do you recognize the item that I've just handed you?
Yes.
And what are those?
So these would be the DNA extracts from my extractions on the items of evidence.
And there's 4 total, but I just want to talk about, is there one for the swab from the trigger and then one from the swab of the hammer of a firearm?
Yes, there are.
Your Honor, we'd ask that that be marked as state's next exhibit.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, we'll do hand the triggers extract to the court reporter. That'll be S-53. Are both extracts in the same envelope?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then just mark one.
Yeah, toxic. Nothing my parents ever did to me, and there wasn't always the greatest things, but never would I think about unaliving them.
Mr. Hawley, the report that you prepared, did someone else review that work that you had done?
Yes, they did.
And did they agree with your findings?
Yes, they did.
And if you could tell us about the two items, I think I misspoke earlier in this case when I said that there was a DNA match on the hammer. Could you tell us what your findings were with regards to the hammer, the swab from the hammer on the Taurus gun?
Due to an insufficient amount of genetic information, no comparable results were obtained for the swab from hammer.
What about for the trigger of the Taurus
I like
firearm?
that better. It's smaller.
The DNA test results for the swab from trigger produced a partial profile, which is consistent with the reference sample of the suspect. Therefore, Carly Gregg is not excluded as a possible DNA donor to this sample. Ashley Smiley is excluded as a possible DNA donor to this sample.
So explain that, because when I first read one of these reports, I was like, what does that mean, not excluded? In layman's term, I'd say that's them. But in scientific terms, you have to say that they can't be ruled out, right?
Right. So in this case, the DNA that is there, it does match to Carly Gregg's DNA.
Is there a quantification? Do you put a certain number, like one in so many people, that DNA belongs to?
So anytime there is a match made, we do give a status statement. And I can read that one and then explain to you. For the 8 markers compared, the genetic profile for the DNA donor of the swab from trigger occurs with a frequency of approximately 1 in greater than 10 billion random unrelated persons of the Caucasian, African American, and the Hispanic population. And so that stat is supposed to give weight to how common or how rare you would expect that profile. And in this case, it would be a rare profile.
And as I understand it, the 1 in 10 billion is actually just the forensic laboratory's cutoff. You got to stop it at a certain point.
That's right. Once the numbers get so big, it's hard to understand. We usually cap it at above the world population, which is, last time I checked, around 8 billion. So we cap it at 10 billion.
And to be clear, your report excludes Ashley Smiley as a DNA donor on the trigger of the gun.
That's correct.
Court's indulgence. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
No questions.
May this witness be finally released by the state?
Yes, sir.
By the defense?
Yes, sir.
You're free to go. Please leave your exhibits up there. The state may call its next witness.
The state calls Felicia McIntyre.
Swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
Have a seat. Adjust yourself up to the microphone. You don't have to speak directly in the microphone. Speaks to the gentleman on the back row here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that you're under oath and your answers are sworn answers are subject to penalty of perjury?
I do.
Statement begins questioning.
Ms. McIntyre, if you would introduce yourself to the jury, please.
It's Felicia McIntyre, first name Feliciia, last name McIntire.
And where are you employed?
I'm employed with the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory located in Pearl.
And what are your duties there? Or sorry, what is your position there at the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory?
I'm the section chief over the firearm and tool mark unit.
And what are your duties as the section chief of the firearms and tool mark division?
As the section chief, I oversee the administrative and personnel matters within our division, but also act as a forensic scientist specializing in firearm and tool mark identification, which allows me to compare bullets, cartridge cases, or other ammunition components to see if they were fired in a particular firearm.
And how long have you been employed with the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory?
Since November of 2008.
Do you have any previous experience as a forensic scientist specializing
I would
in
too.
firearms
I'm
and tool
sure
mark
not well.
examination?
I was trained with the Indiana State Police beginning in 2005.
I'm sure.
Would you give the jury your educational background?
Yes. I earned a Bachelor of Science in
Ooh,
Forensic
love her
Science
haircut. I used to
from
have that
Kentucky University.
And have you completed
when I
any
was skinny.
specialized training in forensic science and firearms and tool marks?
When employed with the Indiana State Police, I completed a 2-year apprenticeship-style training program, which included lots of literature references, touring of various firearm and ammunition manufacturing facilities, supervised casework, mock and written exams, and then I continue to travel annually to different seminars and to maintain certification.
And have you previously been accepted as an expert witness as a forensic scientist in firearms and tool marks?
I have.
How many times would you estimate that?
Near 100 at this point.
Your Honor, at this time, we'd move to have this witness tendered as an expert in forensic science and firearms and tool marks.
No objection.
Without objection,
Toxic.
shall be admitted as an expert
That
in the
happens
area
a lot.
Of firearms and tool marks. Firearms and tool marks and tool mark identification. We'll proceed.
Ms. McIntyre, if you could kind of talk to us about what ballistics are.
The field of firearms examination has as its main concern to determine if a bullet or cartridge case was fired in a particular firearm. We're able to do that through class and individual characteristics. More specifically, when a gun is manufactured, some features of that firearm are determined by that manufacturer. Those are considered class characteristics. The caliber, the way that the firearm is rifled, so the number of lands and grooves that are put inside that barrel, those are put there to help impart spin on the bullet, but those are determined by that manufacturer. Incidental to that manufacturing process, individual marks are left behind. So those are things that happen as a result of the machining processes or use and abuse over time that cannot be determined by the manufacturer. And those marks are unique to a particular firearm. I'm looking for both those class and individual marks on a microscope when I'm comparing these items. So I'm looking at a comparison microscope, which is just 2 regular stereo microscopes joined by an optical bridge. So I can see 2 different items through one field of view. So in a case matter, we'll be looking for those class and individual marks on unknown items versus items I know were test fired from a particular firearm.
When you talk about test firing, where do you get the items that you use to conduct test firing?
When a firearm is submitted to the laboratory, I will generate those knowns. So I'm making test fires. I'm getting reference ammunition that we have at the laboratory that has been purchased, and I'm firing it in the gun that has been submitted for testing. I do that in a water tank. That's literally just a 12-foot deep tank of water that allows me to discharge the firearm. Those individual marks are placed on it, and they're not affected at all by the water. So I can retrieve it to have intact knowns.
Boy,
compared to my unknowns.
such a classy woman, and she knows her weapon.
We spoke with 2 experts previously about proficiency testing, and I want to make sure that you two, Ms. McIntyre,
Just saying.
have performed and essentially passed your proficiency testing.
Yes, the firearms unit also completes annual proficiency testing, which I have taken and passed this year.
Did you have the opportunity to be involved in crime lab number 24-003524?
I did.
And who was the suspect in that case?
Suspect is listed as a Carly Gregg, spelled C-A-R-L-Y, last name G-R-E-G-G.
And the testing that you performed, was that reviewed by anyone there at the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory?
Yes, it was.
And do they agree with your results?
They did.
In preparation, or at the conclusion of your testing, did you prepare a report with your findings?
I did.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Ms. McIntyre, what I've handed you, does that appear to be a true and accurate copy of the report that you prepared in this particular case?
Yes, it does.
You mentioned that you use test firing ammo. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? I'm sorry, may I have that moved as state's next exhibit before I move on?
Any objections to the report?
Yeah, objection.
Okay. What happened here?
Field of view. So in a case matter, we'll be looking for those class and individual marks on unknown items versus items I know were test fired from a particular firearm.
When you talk about test firing, where do you get the items that you use to conduct test firing?
When a firearm is submitted to the laboratory, I will generate those knowns. So I'm making test fires. I'm getting reference ammunition that we have at the laboratory that has been purchased, and I'm firing it in the gun that has been submitted for testing. I do that in a water tank. That's literally just a 12-foot deep tank of water that allows me to discharge the firearm. Those individual marks are placed on it, and they're not affected at all by the water. So I can retrieve it to have intact knowns to compare to my unknowns.
And I want to take a step back. We spoke with two experts previously about proficiency testing, and I want to make sure that you two, Ms. McIntyre, have performed and essentially passed your proficiency testing.
Yes, the firearms unit also completes annual proficiency testing, which I have taken and passed this year.
Did you have the opportunity to be involved in crime lab number 24-003524?
I did.
And who was the suspect in that case?
Suspect is listed as a Carly Gregg, spelled C-A-R-L-Y, last name G-R-E-G-G.
And the testing that you performed, was that reviewed by anyone there at the Mississippi Forensics Laboratory?
Yes, it was.
And do they agree with your results?
They did.
In preparation, or at the conclusion of your testing, did you prepare a report with your findings?
I did.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Ms. McIntyre, what I've handed you, does that appear to be a true and accurate copy of the report that you prepared in this particular case?
Yes, it does.
You mentioned that you use test firing ammo. May I approach the witness, Your Honor? I'm sorry, may I have that moved as state's next exhibit before I move on?
Any objections to the report?
Yeah, objection.
Object, the report will be admitted as S-53 without objection.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? I'm handing you what's been marked or has not been marked. Could you tell me what that is, please?
Yes, for the record, I've been handed a test fire envelope that bears crime laboratory number 24-003524. I recognize this envelope as it bears the crime laboratory barcode with the case number and submission number. My initials are placed upon it when I created it, as well as a tape seal of my date and initials when I completed my examination of these items.
And does that appear to be in a unaltered form since you sealed that envelope?
Yes, the seals are still intact.
Here, I would ask that that be marked as the state's next exhibit.
Yeah, objection.
55.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I handed you two items that have been previously marked as S1, S41 and S42. Do you recognize both of those items as well?
I do.
And what are those?
State's Exhibit 41 is Crown Laboratory Submission 5 in the above mentioned case. This is a sealed plastic bag containing a manila envelope labeled Bullet from Brain. State's Exhibit 42 is Crown Laboratory Submission 4. I recognize my markings on this item as well. It is a sealed plastic bag containing a manila envelope labeled Bullet from Back of Neck.
One other item, Your Honor. I'm also handing you what's previously been marked as S40. If you would take a look at that and tell me if you can identify that.
State's Exhibit 40 is Crime Laboratory Submission 6. I recognize the markings on the box here. This particular box contains one Taurus revolver. I also recognize my inscription and the serial number that are on this revolver within the box.
Ms. McIntyre, we've talked about the bullet removed from Ashley Smiley's neck. The projectile, the one removed from her brain, the 357 Taurus, and then the test fires that you used. Was there any other evidence that you relied upon in rendering your opinions in this particular case?
No, ma'am.
And were you able to, can you walk us through what testing specifically was done on these items?
Yes, ma'am. When I received the firearm, I worked up a general worksheet documenting those class characteristics that we spoke about. I then used the reference ammunition we discussed, test fired this particular firearm into the water tank, thus generating the test fires here in State's Exhibit 55. I then took the test fires in State's Exhibit 55 and compared those on a comparison microscope to both the projectile in State's Exhibit 41 and the projectile in State's Exhibit 42 to arrive at
This is
about whether or not they originated from State's Exhibit 40.
And what?
Yeah, I'm not liking this.
The projectiles in State's Exhibit 41 and 42 were fired in the gun in State's Exhibit 40.
And based on your training and experience, do you consider the results that you did in this particular case to be reliable?
Yes, ma'am.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
No questions.
May the witness be excused by the state?
Yes, sir.
By the defense? You're free to go.
Thanks.
Do you have any further witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Camp, can you approach? Y'all approach real quick.
Wow. That's cray. Yeah, I'm going to have to downsize me. Get there.
Having rested its case in chief, it's about 4:50 in the afternoon. I'm going to release you for the evening, but I'm going to remind you, you're not to talk about this case. You're not to watch any news accounts of this case. You're not to get on social media. Does everybody understand? All right, I'm going to need you back in the jury room tomorrow morning, 8:45, ready to go. All right, everyone please remain seated while the jury exits.
My son is having a lot of fun playing his game. I can hear him. He's having the best time in there. He is. Well, guys, oh, there's more talking. Okay.
You're free to go.
Record
You're free to go.
calls or connection to attribute a direct and additional.
You can make your motion in limine.
Two things motion in limine is
Thank
the
you for
fact
getting the mic
that
on.
he used as a source of information a video interview with Heath Smiley from August the 31st for 90 minutes. When we had a Zoom call with Dr. Clark, he said that nor his interview with Ms. Gregg was recorded. And so at this point, we have no way of knowing what Mr. Smiley conveyed to him and how much of that he relied upon in his interview. That wasn't turned over to us prior to August the 30th. And then additionally, Dr. Clark rendered some opinions of some sort and says, and I'm looking at page 29 of his report, Your Honor. Do you have a copy of that?
The report I have is only 24 pages.
24, I'm sorry. In that first paragraph on the last page, he says, it's my opinion that the Lexapro that she began taking clearly worsened her pre-existing psychiatric disorders, leaving her in a highly precocious state. But there is inadequate information available to attribute a direct casualty to the medication. And we believe that would certainly, he cannot testify. His opinion is that he cannot say that the medicine caused her to behave in any way. And so we do not think it would be proper for him to be able to take the stand and to discuss that when in fact he says himself that he cannot attribute it to the medication. We'd ask that he be limited in that he not be able to talk about the Lexapro and or, since he did not reference it in this part, the Zoloft that Ms. Gregg had allegedly taken at some point, and any cause or connection to her state of mind at the time of the murder, attempted murder, and tampering.
All right. Let me ask this way. As I recall, what the court was faced with was several late discovery disclosures, and maybe the expert had not been retained until a few days after the discovery deadline. However, I believe I gave the state a continuance, or I said I went into the box procedure. All right.
Yes, sir.
Did you have an opportunity to interview Dr. Clark?
We had a Zoom conversation where Mr. Kent was present, where we asked him about the sources that he relied upon, asked him if he had relied upon any interview with Miss Vicki Breland. He said he had an interview with her, but it was not referenced in her report. And so he said he did not, he must not have relied upon her interview. He said that Heath Smiley's Zoom recording interview Zoom interview was not recorded and that no one else was present. And Your Honor, we asked him somewhat about what his standard was. We cleared up the fact that both he and Mr. Camp had said that they would not be talking about an involuntary intoxication. And so Mr. Camp stated that on the record. Dr. Clark said, well, I talk about the medicine, but I'm not saying that's a legal standard about involuntary intoxication. And so, Judge, I think it's improper when he says he cannot render an opinion. Mr. Camp said he's not going to talk about involuntary intoxication, so it would just serve to confuse the jury rather than offer any probative value at this point.
Anything further?
No, sir.
All right. Response.
Your Honor, I'm not 100% understanding what she's.
The last paragraph says, in Carly's case, in my opinion, the Lexapro that she began taking clearly worsened her pre-existing psychiatric disorders. Y'all want that part in?
Yeah, so I think it's part. They ask him about it. He's not saying. I think it's part of the whole his diagnosis of what he did, but it is not saying that's what it was. If I gather it right, Your Honor.
But the next, the comma, so to speak, is, but there is inadequate information available to attribute a direct causality to to that medication.
Yes, and that's what he's gonna. That is my understanding. Is he's gonna say there's not a direct showing that that's what that specifically caused it. That is these other things, Your Honor. And also, this is one thing I would say. You put down you told us that we had to have this done by last Friday. You gave them an extension to go over this. They talked to our doctor, our expert. They said they're not going to have a Dahlberg hearing, which is what this is. And then all of a sudden, the afternoon before,
hold on, that's not a Dahlberg hearing. A Dahlberg hearing is on his qualifications, and on the side. All right. Any further response?
No, Your Honor.
Reply.
Your Honor, again, just that we believe the motion in limine is proper, as this statement and any testimony about this would fly in the face of 403. There's no probative value, and it would prejudice the defendant. And at this point, it's not relevant, and we would ask that the court exclude any testimony by Dr. Clark or any other witness at this point about trying to causally relate Lexapro to anything that happened on March the 19th, 2024.
This court is in a bad position. The court would agree with the state that this statement in and of itself does not rise to the level that an expert is required to testify to in this state. However, whether he's saying it's not causally related or not, whether or not he's saying there's inadequate information available to attribute a direct causality to that medication. It is an unwritten rule in the case law of this state. There seems to be two separate standards of law without the appellate courts ever stating that. There's one standard that the state is held to, and I would point out that pathologist was not called in this case because it was disclosed late. So I read the motion. You asked me to treat you like the state. Do you really want that? The state is free to cross appeal this court's decision, and it probably should. However, this court has little faith that this court excluding a witness, even though he was disclosed, hired far past the discovery deadline, and even though the vast majority of the opinion appears to be improper, diminished capacity type evidence, and even though it does not rise to the standard, the court's going to overrule the state's objection. Trial courts in this state are in a bad position. There are too many reversals when we exclude what is deemed to be the defendant's case. And I'm just going to be frank, that this is not a case that this court wants to see again.
What's happening? I need help.
That opens the doors wide open to a lot of things. Court is going to overrule the state's objection. I'm going to allow the expert to testify to a late disclosure report that basically talks about diminished capacity and does not meet the standard of care, does not meet the burden of proof required in the state. However, it's all in the defendant's favor. I hope the state cross appeals. If there's a verdict in this case, I'm inviting you to cross appeal. I'm inviting the Supreme Court to tell me I'm wrong. Give us some case law that says I should. I'm okay excluding it, but There's too many cases out there that have been on the edges that they will reverse. I'll be frank, there would be an opinion that came down and said, well, it's substantial, came close enough. So for those reasons, I'm going to deny it. If a jury chooses to return an NGRI on this evidence, then that's going to be their decision. If they choose to acquit her on this evidence, that's their decision. But I'm going to allow the expert to testify, and the state can deal with this on cross-examination to the best of its ability. Feel free to cross-appeal, regardless of verdict. Regardless of verdict, feel free to cross-appeal. I'm stating I believe I'm wrong, but
what?
I'm wrong in the defendant's favor. All right, that's going to be the ruling of the court. Anything further from the state?
Ooh, he ain't happening.
And we can address this if necessary, but we might have a similar argument after he testifies.
What tablets?
Just asking for permission to flesh that out if and when this expert testifies.
All right.
Her medication?
Got witnesses for 8:45 tomorrow, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. All right. Doctor's going to be here tomorrow, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Is there anything further for the court to deal with by the state?
No, sir.
By the defense?
No, Your Honor. No, we approach.
Yes, ma'am.
What? Huh? But why why hasn't then this been dealt with prior? Why are they trying to deal with it now? I know, baby. I'll take you in a second. The baby girl things are going cray cray.
We'll be back tomorrow morning. Have the defendant over here dressed out, please, around 8:30, okay? All right, we're going to ask the attorneys to be here at 8:30, and we will be in recess till tomorrow morning, 8:30. See you then.
He's not happy. Ooh, child. This can't be good. This ain't gonna be good, y'all. Oh, no, 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 no. This is no bueno. Okay, this is not good at all. But, here's the thing. She has a chance for this if there's enough substantial evidence. The defense missed like 4 deadlines, I think. Hi, out and about with Diane. Okay. If there has been evidence and it is medically proven that that medication can cause that kind of behavior, which I'm doubtful it will get past the jury, but it could. This is not good. This is not good at all. No, this is not good at all for her. The defense missed like 4 deadlines, I think. Hi, Ann. Hi, everybody. Hi, Diane. The issue with the defense missing a lot of these deadlines, I get it. But why should the state be held responsible for their missing the deadlines? That's what I don't understand. So I'm a little confused myself with this. But who am I? Lexapro can cause mania and it's more volatile, and that's true. But has she had previous behavior has she had? Is there evidence of that behavior previously? Yes, it possibly could. No doubt about it. None at all. But my question is, in all honesty, is why is this just now coming up? Why is this just now being an issue? Why has this not been discussed earlier? This stuff should have come up a long time ago. So they're going to have a witness that comes in and testify. A doctor is going to come in and testify that this caused her to lose her ever loving mind because her mom found out about her vaping. Usually, in my humble opinion, and the limited experience I have had with that kind of knowledge through my ministerial role, is that usually the behavior escalates. It's this. a- If I had not seen the video, I would say that's it. That's it. But when you look at the video of this girl, sorry, I got a little stuff on me. Drives me crazy. If you look at the video of this little girl, that was not something that I would think was a manic or a it wasn't manic to me, in my humble opinion. What are your thoughts? Do you think that this was a manic moment for her? Did it appear manic to you? To me, it did not. To me, it did not. To me, it looked like a child who has thought about this because look at the behavior. She knew. She knew. I had to remake that banner underneath because, well, I lost it. First, I thought it was a mental breakdown. Then I saw the video and I think she planned it or thought it out. Um, Me too, Ada. I can't get past the video. It seems completely controlled. That's what I'm getting at. It is completely under control. This child is not in a position where she is out of control. She's under control the whole time. If you've ever seen a child in a manic state, have anybody in this chat had a child or seen a child in a manic state? Let me know. I sure have. And it doesn't look like that in the least at all. I don't look into the side. I'm trying to get something done. Oh, you still say it could be a dissociation. I could say it could be a dissociation, but the way she acted when her stepdad got home makes it seem more like. See, okay, guys, dissociation doesn't look like that. And I'm not trying to be a know it all. I have suffered something called drug induced psychosis, which made me dissociate when I was taking a high level of prednisone prescribed by a physician for lung issue. Okay. And I have to tell you that that's not what it looks like. Because here's the thing, What gets me is that she calmly walked out of the room, picked up the phone, texted, I guess, the stepfather. That to me is rational. That to me is rational, y'all. Am I not? Am I crazy in that thought? Please help me here. That to me is too rational. Yeah, definitely. It's just too clean and rational, in my humble opinion. Well, and that was the other thing. She looked around the corner to see if anybody was there. She hid, that's right. She hid it behind her back because she knew there was a camera. So all of that, I'm trying to see where, oh, I know it's shining through. I think I do. There's something. Oop, wrong side. So it's, oh, I know what that is. Okay. So if you were in a manic state, you would not be the way she was. And if I'm wrong, let me know. But to me, she knew darn well what she was doing. It was clear, it was thought, it was a, po- a how does that look for tomorrow, guys? I've been working on this thing. And I'm getting ready to start using that background. So that's for tomorrow. But it's too rational. It's too thought out. It's too planned for me. Now, if she was being irrational and dissociated or in a manic, I could see her grabbing the weapon, holding it in her hands, frantically moving, not thinking about hiding it, not committing the act, and then getting the phone, thinking logically. And then when daddy gets home, she bolts. No, stepfather. It was cold blooded, period. I give it to you. Her actions were organized, her actions were clear. I mean, if she really, really wanted to get away with this, she didn't think it through. Cause a fight, get mama to smack her. Then you'd unalive her, and then you could maybe self defense. But this, no. If I was on the jury, I would hang it if anybody was thinking other than me, because I would not. I know her age; that's an issue, but medication causing her to do this is a no no for me. Yeah. If she was manic, it would be disorganized. I don't know when I'm manic, I think rational, but I don't know what it looks like from the outside. I mostly just do dumb stuff like, yeah. Well, some people when they go manic go buy a lot of stuff. Nobody knows they're manic, but they shop and they buy a lot of stuff. Or some people may order 15 pizzas, or everybody has their own unique manic, whatever that is for you. But this caused by medication, it's one thing if you're ADHD, bipolar, whatever it is. But medication, you would see the behavioral start to change. And if it was a snap, that wasn't a snap behavior. Yeah. I'm just wondering if this was premeditated. She was fine, acting normally right up to the point when home that day. See, they had an argument in the car. Obviously, they had a disagreement. Obviously, she's not allowed to be vaping. Obviously, mother found the vape and she knew she was in trouble and she was pissed off and she wanted to do what she wanted to do and she didn't want anybody telling her she couldn't. So she took things into her own hands, is my humble opinion. I have seen kids manic on medication, either overly medicated or took something they shouldn't have taken. It doesn't look like that. She was of cognitive mind. If she now, if she had come in, they screamed at each other, she grabbed it, started running around, and then shot her, I could go that way. But she was cognitive enough to hide the weapon behind her back. She was cognitive enough to pick up her mother's phone and text the stepfather, and say, "Hey, when are you coming home?" I'm paraphrasing, of course, but when you do that, that's cognitive thinking. Yeah, that boat ain't gonna sail. My son is so manic. I had to sit on top of him. He ran around out of control, punching holes in ceilings and walls. That's kind of the manic I'm thinking when I have seen kids on medications that are either way too high of a level for them or they've taken something they're not supposed to take because it's, yeah. Yeah, it's different every time. I once had medication induced mania and I mostly didn't eat or sleep and spent a lot of money. I I don't know the research. I'm gonna look at it. In fact, I'm taking a class on research, or this ought to be good. I'm gonna look at it and see what this particular medication can cause. Premeditation can be hours before the act or seconds before the act or during the act. It depends on the state. Yep. And I believe this is premeditated. She went, got the weapon, and hid the weapon. Came out of the room hiding the weapon. No, this is pre. Ada, a friend of Colley's, went to her mom that day and ratted her out for doing and some other things that the friend thought could get her in trouble. Yeah, I get that. She's doing vaping. Maybe she's being intimately inappropriate. God only knows what. But the calmness in which she went and got the weapon, the fact that when she came out of her bedroom and her mother was in the bedroom, I surmise that if that mama was like me, she was digging and looking for the goods, the vape, or maybe she was smoking some, and whatever. I would tear her room up, and I bet she's scared. I bet she's scared to death. So she comes out, goes to her mother's room, peeks around in the kitchen to make sure that nobody's in there yet, and goes into her room and does what she does. That is rational. There was nothing irrational. I mean, the thought of what she's doing is irrational. What she's planning to do is irrational, but her behavior was it's like she had made her mind up and she knew what she was going to do. That's the way I see it. Yeah, maybe. She was on Lexapro. I was. Yes. Probably did. My mother was a vice principal secretary at my school. I couldn't get away with crap. But yeah, I understand that medications can make things do things, but she behaved like she made this decision. She was at peace with the decision. She did what she did, and that was it. She was too calm. Yeah, I agree. I know. I wish I could see pictures of baby, but we can't. We can't. But oh, I bet that baby's precious. All right, guys. Yeah, Pamela. Yeah, it. I understand the defense is going to throw all the crap on the wall and see what sticks, but this ain't going to stick. Okay, guys, I got to figure out what time I got to be here tomorrow. I got homework to do, and I'm going to hop off. This was an unplanned live once again, but thank you all for hopping in and being here with me. I appreciate you. And we will see you tomorrow. I will go ahead and stream this live since the Adelson trial is out and done for now. The case management meeting will be October 15th, and I have it on the calendar. So, in the meantime, good night, be blessed, sleep well. See you in the morning. Good night, y'all.